What's up, friends? Welcome to Web3 Academy, a place for entrepreneurs, creators, and marketers to explore and learn how to use Web3 to transform business models and create thriving communities. Enjoy this next episode. GM friends, welcome back to another episode of the Web3 Academy podcast. Kyle Reidhead here, coming at you live from Mexico City. I've made my way out of Permissionless conference, which was in West Palm, and now in Mexico City for the next month. And I'm excited to share this episode with you where I'm going to talk about the 5 key takeaways from the Permissionless conference. You know, the smartest people in Web3 were all there, and we got to learn from a bunch of them throughout the week. And I need to relay that information back to all of you. So I'm excited for this one. There's a lot of really cool stuff that happened over the week. And I'm excited to share it with you. I know not everyone gets to go to these conferences. It was my first crypto conference, and what a blast. It was actually an amazing experience, and I'm excited to go to my next one. And I hope that you guys, after you hear what I have to say, may want to go as well, because honestly, it was pretty incredible. Even though prices are down and things looked, a little bit scary here in the markets. Wow, what a burst of energy this gave. So this article that I'm going to read from is called "What Are the Smartest People in Web3 Saying?", which is sort of a TLDR or a summary of the Permissionless conference. By the way, before I get into it, this podcast is growing really fast, and it's pretty amazing to see. But we need you guys to help us grow this. And the way that you do that is by subscribing, whether this is on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Podcasts, whatever you listen to, subscribe. And please like and share, do whatever you can. I think you can do leave reviews and stuff on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. Please give us a 5-star rating. These are the ways that it puts us to the top of the algorithms and allows us to grow even further. So I appreciate all of you for listening thus far. And if you could please subscribe and share, it would mean the world to me. Okay, guys, let's get started here. So the brightest minds of crypto and Web3 came together last week in beautiful West Palm Beach, Florida. There was about 10,000 or more people, 100 plus speakers, and 3 full days of panels, keynotes, and presentations at the Permissionless conference put on by Blockworks and Bankless. Well done, guys. It was pretty awesome. So below, I'm going to share the top 5 key takeaways that you need to know from the conference. But first, let's just talk a little bit about the crypto community. If you have yet to go to a crypto conference, as I said in the beginning, I highly recommend you do. The diversity of people that attended this conference was literally incredible. It ranged from founders and developers of all of the top blockchains and decentralized applications, in addition to founders and developers from big tech like Robinhood and Visa and Google. And it also went to the young artists and creators that are innovating in the NFT space, to even the older TradFi investors in VCs, and literally everyone in between. You can see that Web3 and crypto is really touching so many different areas, so many different industries, that it just brings in this huge variety of people. And it was really, really cool because it was just so diverse. Old, young, different colors, different races from different countries with different interests. It was pretty incredible to see. And the one thing that everyone had in common, though, was just a pure excitement for how Web3 and crypto are going to change the world for the better. The energy was so high that you could have never guessed that the industry is currently down, 60+% or so from all-time highs, right? I've always been super bullish on crypto and Web3. We talk about it in every episode. Jay and I are always talking bullish things. But after this conference, I'm even more bullish on the people of crypto and Web3. So I highly recommend right now that you go find the next crypto conference that's near you, and you go. You will not regret it. I think there's Consensus coming up in Austin, Texas in June. There's EthCC in Paris in, I think it's July. There's DevCon going on in Colombia, and I think it's October. And there's tons of other ones as well. But go, because this community is vibrant and they're live, and it brings a lot of energy. It's really, really cool. And so the top 5 takeaways from the Permissionless conference are the following. 1, Web3 is creating something bigger and more important than I think most of us realize. 2, I think we're in a bear market, and that's honestly a good thing. 3, building blockchains that scale is the #1 focus and requirement of this industry. Number 4, the competition for Web3 wallet market share and innovation is heating up fast. There was a ton of announcements at Permissionless from big time companies, and I will share that with you in this episode. And 5, probably the biggest announcement over the weekend, of the week, was the Ethereum merge from proof of work to proof of stake is happening, and it's happening in August, and it is a really, really big deal. So I'll dive deeper into each of those, takeaways below, in a second. But first, a few more key takeaways that didn't quite make it into the top 5. 1, UST in the Terra ecosystem was seen by many of the panelists as reckless and a ticking time bomb. So many of them had some very strong opinions on this, and I guess many of them had been saying it as well. Do Kwon and the crew at Terra were kind of not having any of it, and they were very confident and very loud. But there was a lot of people that were questioning this, and they've seen this happen many times in algorithmic stablecoins. And actually, one of the big takeaways, because this was talked about on almost every single panelist, is that the name algorithmic stablecoin has been changed, and the industry wants to go with under collateralized stablecoin. But also the future, their future in this industry is really uncertain. But under collateralized stablecoin is what this is. Yes, it's an algorithm that's trying to make it stay its peg, but ultimately it's just under collateralized. It doesn't have enough to collateralize it like MakerDAO and DAI and all the other ones do. So that's the new name. Next up, music NFTs are legit. Get ready for another disruption of the music industry. There's a few talks on this, a lot of people talking about it, and music NFTs are blowing up right now. And there's just no way that these aren't the way that this industry goes. We will work to get someone on the podcast to discuss that. Digital identity and social media on the blockchain are going to reshape how we use the internet. Super bullish on Lens Protocol and Disco.xyz. Two of them were really a big deal at the conference. I'm actually wearing, if you can see my hat right now, it's a Lens Protocol hat. And they both are coming on the podcast very, very soon. So we are going to dive into sort of the blockchain version of social media. At first, I didn't really understand why this was needed. After learning what Lens Protocol is doing, this is going to be a game changer. So I'm super excited. Disco.xyz is kind of changing the game on digital identity, decentralized digital identity. And it's an eye opener when you hear what they talk about. So we will have them both on the podcast soon. Web3 is tokenizing culture. So this isn't highly understood yet. There are some people that do talk about this, but it really is a whole new dynamic. And we will explore this further on Web3 Academy so you can understand what that means by tokenizing culture. But you think of culture, things could be like fans of music, fans of sports, and really so many other things, art, etc. And we've never had a way to like create value around that other than art. Obviously you could sell, but what I mean is like the community and the fan base of it all. And tokens allow us to do that. And so it's a really exciting kind of new paradigm that's coming. And finally, crypto conferences are amazing, but gosh, are they ever exhausting. Think of it, it's 9 hours a day of panels, a happy hour afterwards, and then networking events in the evening, 3 days straight. I literally wrote this article with one eye closed. It's way more exhausting than I thought. And maybe I'm just getting older. I don't know. But also shout out to the events. They were pretty awesome. Boys Club through the first one. It was kind of a private event or party, whatever you want to call it, but really fun, really cool. Bankless and Optimism had one the second night. The third night, I did not go because I was just exhausted. Okay, so let's dive into the details of these 5 key takeaways from the conference. So the first one, Web3 is creating something bigger and more important than most of us realize. So in the first panel of the conference titled, Why Are We Here? Mariano Conti, who's head of smart contracts at Maker, and I think has been involved in Ethereum for a long time. He's from Argentina, and he set the stage really early on by saying, everyone in the USA is worried about 8% inflation. However, in my country, we would be celebrating the streets like we just won the World Cup if we had 8% inflation. And Mariano was referring to Argentina's 50% plus inflation rate. And, this is true of a growing number of countries all over the world, right? Our monetary system is broken and it's impacting billions of people today in terms of inflation and financial exclusion, right? Many of us don't really realize that, especially those in the West that don't have this problem. It's not really a thing that we think of a lot, but this is huge for literally millions and billions of people. So there's a lot going on here, and Web3 just solves a lot of things. So one thing I want people to understand, and this is really what I took away from this "Why Are We Here" presentation, was Web3 is not about the potential money we can all make, right? Or these flashy and cool new, high profile monkey NFTs. Like, this is where all the talk is, all the headlines and stuff are, and all the hype and FOMO, et cetera. But it's not about that. Web3 is about opportunity and systemic change, right? Web3 is about creating a level playing field for every person in the world. It's about providing sound money to those whose money is being inflated away by their government, saving lives for people, literally. It's about providing permissionless banking services to everyone in the world, regardless of what country they live in. There are billions of people who don't even have access to bank accounts. A bank account. It's like one of the most basic things you get when you live in the Western world, even as a kid, right? And there are billions of people who can't even get that. They can't store their money somewhere. It's insane. And it's unfortunate. But it's also about putting the power into the hands of the average person so that collectively we decide how the internet can best support us rather than a few big companies. And this is going to be a big game changer as things move forward in this space. If you lived in a developed country in the West, then a lot of what Web3 solves are things that honestly probably don't impact you significantly every single day. Yet in developing countries outside of the West, these are problems that citizens have been dealing with for many, many years. And it's hard to truly grasp the significance of it until you've been directly impacted by it at a level like Argentina and Turkey and Russia and Zimbabwe. And the list goes on and on and on and on, right? There are a lot of problems in our world, and Web3 seems to be the one piece of technology that has a chance to solve many of them. So it is extremely, extremely exciting. But I just hope that people realize what we're really trying to accomplish here. It is not these exclusive, communities with Bored Apes and blah, 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 blah. Who cares, right? It's cool and it's fine and it gets headlines and it makes some people happy, and that's great. What we're really trying to do here is make the world a better place. And people need to understand that, okay? Number two, we're in a bear market. And honestly, it's a good thing. So I was surprised to hear so many people just casually and confidently say that we're in a bear market. It was like, there was no question to some of these people. It was just sort of the theme. From my perspective, it's still undecided, but from the panelists and the speakers, it seemed like it was pretty clear. And, nearly every speaker at the conference has invested and built through at least one long, drawn out, multi-year bear market. And some of the OGs have gone through 2 or 3. And, when they talked about those past experiences or were asked about them, you could kind of see the pain, of the past in their eyes. Now, they were no doubt tough times for this industry, but at the same time, everyone seemed to be very optimistic about this bear market and the future of Web3. The common phrases were, bear markets are healthy. The industry needed this. Now is the time where the best new technologies are made, right? Moments like this are when the tide goes out and you can see who's swimming with no shorts on, right? Terra was exactly it. A lot of people in the space knew that once prices go down, if we have these problems, they're not collateralized enough. They're not going to be able to keep that peg, right? It was all on this sort of like FOMO and this need to bring new users in and new capital in. And once that capital and those users go away, their project doesn't work, right? And we've seen this time and time again. And this is what happens in bear markets: is the water leaves, the tide goes out, and those that are standing there with no shorts on, they get caught. So these type of moments, it's when we get rid of a lot of the leverage. It's when we get rid of a lot of the scammers and the short-sighted builders just looking to capitalize on, a new trend. So it can be good. And at the same time, it's also a time where builders can focus on building, right? Rather than the daily headlines and this insane price volatility. Bear markets are the time where the industry simply gets shit done. And that's my favorite time. Just ask the Web3 Academy team, the Impact Digital Marketing team, my 2 companies. Get shit done is one of our 5 ethos of our 2 companies. And that's my favorite thing to do. Is just, I'm a doer and I just like to get shit done. And, unicorn applications like Uniswap and, Axie Infinity and OpenSea, they were all built in the last bear market, right? And Ethereum, the #1 smart contract platform enabling basically all of the development activity in Web3, was built in the bear market before that. So good things come during these times, right? And hey, we need a lot more built to support this ecosystem. So this is a good thing. Now, there was a lot of mixed opinions on if we will have a long, drawn out, multi-year bear market like the previous ones, But it seemed as though most were leaning on the side of a shorter rather than longer bear market. Now, the one common theme that was that this time around, everyone is extremely well-funded, right? So much money poured in the space in the last 2 years, especially last year. There was like 34 billion in VC investment. And so teams are well off, right? Teams are still hiring. They're still building. They still have tons of money in their treasury. Whereas last bear market, teams' treasuries plummeted because it was all through ICOs. So all of their treasuries were in their token or in Ethereum, which went down like 90%, right? So they were running out of money. They were laying off staff. And so this is good, right? The industry is maturing, it seems. And we are set for a stronger bear market because we have the capital and we have the means now. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out. I think there are some of the OGs are still scarred from previous bear markets. So they might think things will be worse than they actually will be. I just kind of think, with the amount of users that we have, we actually have real world utility now. Like people can actually use a lot of this stuff. There are new things launching all the time, even though it's a bear market. We've got the funding. I don't see this one lasting, 2-3 years like previous ones. But ultimately, the bear market length likely depends more on the macro environment more than anything, though there were definitely many hints and whispers that the Ethereum merge may be the one catalyst we need to carry us out of the bear market. So the question is, can the Ethereum devs put this industry on their back and take us to the promised land? We're going to talk more about this in takeaway number 5. So let's go to number 3 before we get there. Building blockchains that scale is the number one focus and question and probably requirement and need of this industry. So the spiciest panel of the entire conference was titled The Scalability Wars. This was awesome. It was a panel with the founders from layer 1 protocols like Polygon, Avalanche, and Near. And then the layer 2 protocols, Optimism and Arbitrum. And the discussion was around what's the best way to scale blockchains to billions of users, right? And the discussion turned into a pretty heated debate. Now it was civil, so it wasn't bad. They were all great about it. Everyone was laughing. It was really good. But it was a debate between really the L1s and the L2s. And, the crowd was cheering. They were laughing. Everyone was completely engaged for the entire conversation. It was really, really cool dynamic. But the big takeaway from it is that building scalable blockchains that maintain the ethos of crypto, meaning permissionless, trustless, censorship resistant, decentralized, it's not easy and it's never been done before, right? So this is where most researchers and developers in the space are spending their time. It's also the most important piece for the industry to figure out in order for the future we all want to actually play out, right? If we end up building scalable blockchains that don't follow the ethos, then we just rebuilt what we already have in Web 2. It's just a glorified database. And there's no point. We might as well stop and all go home and go back to, giving everything we own to Facebook and Google. If we need to build these blockchains in a way where it's immutable and permissionless and trustless, okay? And it can't be censored and it can't be shut down. Without that, this whole industry is useless, okay? So for most people, they don't get that. And you need to understand that, because without that, this industry makes no sense and it goes nowhere. Okay. So at the current moment, we have scalable blockchains, right? Solana, Polygon, Avalanche, etc. And then we have blockchains which focus on the permissionless, trustless, and censorship resistant components like Ethereum and Bitcoin. What we don't have is both. We don't have something that is scalable and follows all those ethos. Well, we don't have that yet. Okay. And that's because the technology is not really possible to do that all in one, okay? Maybe you need a bunch of blockchains. Maybe there's something else, but there's a trilemma here. You can't have fast, cheap, and decentralized. It's not possible, okay? So here's the two sides of the story on how researchers and developers are exploring the solution to this problem. I'm gonna just break it down super, super quick. So one is a multi-layer 1 blockchain future with varying degrees of security and a variety of different scaling techniques, meaning there's just going to be a ton of different things. People can just build wherever, and you choose if you want it to be on a scalable one or a more decentralized one, kind of pick and choose, and there'll just be a ton of different options. Okay. The other option here is one sort of maximally secure and decentralized settlement blockchain at the foundation. Okay, so it's like uber secure, it's maximally decentralized, and with that, you have hundreds or thousands of fast and cheap, scalable layer 2 blockchains cryptographically connecting or plugging into this chain to use it for security and settling their transactions. So these layer 2s don't need to worry about building in the security aspect, because the layer 1, this like super maximally secure one, does it for them. Okay, and they just rely on that security, and they can focus on scale and cheapness. Okay, so in case you're wondering who won the debate, well, the layer 2s dominated the conversation, and it seems the crowd took their side as well. There's a lot of claps, a lot of cheering for the things that layer 2s were saying. At one point, it was hilarious. Ben, who is the, I don't know if he's the founder, but one of the head people at Optimism, which is a layer 2 on Ethereum, he looked at the guy who's sitting beside him at Near and just said, you know, if you guys just decided to forget about security, focus on the execution layer, and just roll up your entire blockchain onto Ethereum, all of your problems would be solved. And the crowd just started dying laughing. And the guy from Near didn't really know what to say, but it was pretty funny. It kind of felt that the alt layer 1s were like the little brother that were just trying to fit in. So it was like the layer 2s would speak and they would make a lot of sense. And it was like, wow, this is so smart. This makes sense. It's all done cryptographically and blah, blah, blah. You can scale like crazy and keep the ethos. And then it was like the alt layer 1s, like they make good sense. And you know, they have some points, some really good points. It felt like they were just really trying to fit in and like hope that people would understand their point. So it was pretty clear to me anyway, that the solution to scalable, permissionless, and censorship resistant blockchains is the Ethereum roadmap. And that's consisting of maximally scalable layer 2 blockchains plugging in to a maximally decentralized base layer. Now, this doesn't mean that Ethereum is the only one that will do this. There's, you know, other technologies that are trying to do similar roadmaps, right, with layer 2s and things. So it's not that Ethereum is the one and only, okay? It's just that they seem to have the best roadmap and best research and technology right now. It doesn't mean that others can't do the same, okay? So it's not an ETH maxi thing when people say that this is the right way and that layer 2s are the future. It's just according to the research in blockchain, this has been researched for many, many years. It is the best solution. So just deal with that. That's just what it is. The debates and stuff is just a little bit crazy. And again, it doesn't mean that there will only be Ethereum with layer 2s. Like it might be a combination. There will probably be multiple layer 1s that do their thing, like Polygon and Avalanche and Solana, whatever. And then there will be this, and they'll kind of coexist, and we'll see what happens. So anyway, not only is the roadmap that we talked about of the layer 1, layer 2s, you know, significantly more decentralized, but it's also significantly more scalable and by orders of magnitude. It actually kind of flips that trilemma that I talked about of blockchains on its head and allows you to scale way, way, way farther beyond what even things like Solana and that are doing as the technology improves. So the other point to make out here, and this is the last one, is that the underlying bridges that connect the Ethereum L1 and all of the L2s, they are all built using cryptography, okay? Meaning they are permissionless and trustless and decentralized, blah, 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 okay? And that removes the risk and the centralization factors that occur in the multi-chain bridges, okay? When you're trying to connect something like Solana to Avalanche, for example, it's different languages. It's a completely different machine that you're working with. So you can't cryptographically connect them, at least not right now. The technology doesn't exist. And some say it probably is not ever going to exist. And so what they have to do is use either some sort of centralized entity. Like, I mean, right now we all use things like Coinbase and Binance to go from chain to chain. But even all of the bridges of these multi-chain, of these other chains, there's a lot of centralization factors that we have to rely on to make that happen. And so a lot of them do get exploited. And maybe technology will fix that, and we will figure out how to. I'm always optimistic on technology, so I'm sure we will. But right now, we just don't have that ability. Now, one final thing is that for most people, none of this really matters, as regardless, of which side works best, there will be another layer built over top of this. And so users won't really have any idea what's under the hood and what chain they're using and what bridges they're using. It'll all just happen like on its own, and it'll happen like through the apps that we use. So like the bridges will just work and you won't know what chain you're using specifically unless you're a builder. Obviously, then you will know. Okay. So that said, if you're wondering where to build in this space right now, the answer seems to be pretty clear that it's Ethereum layer 2s. It's not on Ethereum. Okay. It's on the layer 2s of Ethereum: Optimism, Arbitrum, Immutable X, etc. There's 20, 25 of them at least by now. But this right now is the best real estate for block space in the industry currently. Okay. Okay. So number 4, the competition for Web3 wallet market share and innovation is heating up fast. So at the Permissionless conference, there were a number of big announcements, and most of them were around wallets. So Reidhead was there, and their founder actually did a presentation, and he announced that they are launching a non-custodial Web3 wallet by the end of the year, making it a seamless onboarding for the 22.5 million Reidhead users directly into Web3. So that's going to be huge. And really cool. Reidhead is basically disrupting their own business, which are the kind of things you love to see. This is what Apple did, right? They did the same thing with when they had the iPod. They disrupted the iPod with the iPhone, right? And with iTunes. So by basically creating an app so that the iPod was no longer needed and you could just download the app onto a phone. So Reidhead is kind of doing the same thing. Where they're disrupting the custodial service that many people use to invest by making a non-custodial wallet. So really cool. Ledger, which is the top company for building cold wallets, they announced that they are launching a Chrome browser extension for their wallet called Ledger Connect. So MetaMask, you better watch out, because right now most people use MetaMask, the Chrome extension, and plug it in to the Ledger cold wallet. Well, now it looks like you're not even going to need the MetaMask component. And so we'll see how that goes. Coinbase announced they have launched a new type of wallet called MPC, multi-party compute. And basically it's like a hybrid between custodial and non-custodial wallet. Essentially it's non-custodial enough that you own your keys and Coinbase couldn't shut you down. And you can interact with, Web3 and decentralized applications. However, through some form of cryptography, and I won't get into details because I don't really know them, there is a way in which Coinbase can help recover your seed phrase in case you lose it. So basically, it's like you get half of the seed phrase and Coinbase gets half of it, but they get it in this like encrypted way, so they don't actually know anything. And so if you lose your wallet or your seed phrase, you can reach out to Coinbase support and they can help you recover it, which is huge because the amount of new people that come into this space have no idea what they're doing. They get a Coinbase wallet or a MetaMask wallet and they lose their seed phrase and they contact MetaMask in Coinbase and go, hey, I can't find my phrase. Can you please send me it? And they're like, we can't do that. It doesn't exist. And so this sort of is like a hybrid model, which will be really cool, I think, to help onboard and improve adoption and UX and that for new users. So that's really cool. Overall, the Web3 wallets are the most important tool in Web3, right? They are the new front page of the internet, or will be. And will become everyone's sort of personal dashboard. We will communicate with other people through there. It's where we, have our account settings and our profile. It's where we interact with other applications. It will be the front page of the internet. And new users creating Web3 wallets is by far the most important metric in this space right now. Okay, as that is what unlocks the entire ecosystem. Once you have a Web3 wallet, you are now in, and it is seamless for you to do anything. Okay. And that's what's really cool about the space is the network effects in Web3 are incredible, because if someone creates a wallet for, let's say, a Web3 game, right? Well, now they have a seamless and immediate access into a bank account, and they can use DeFi, right? Or into NFTs and community stuff and art, right? Or Uniswap, so they can trade and swap, and every other component of Web3. So it's like once they get that wallet, they're in the ecosystem, and that's what matters. Okay. So it's cool because if you think about it, all of these sort of subcategories of Web3 are all sort of working together to onboard new users into this space. Okay. And so like a win for Web3 gaming is a win for DeFi, which is a win for NFTs. And the wallet is the key component to it all. So, we need better UX, we need better features, we need better safety, we need all these things. But the good news is it's all coming, and it looks like the competition to innovate is really, really starting to heat up. I would bet over the next year, we start to see many of the big tech companies launching new and innovative wallets. Just think about what happens to the space when Meta launches a non-custodial wallet and it just is created right inside of Instagram or Facebook. It will literally be mind-blowing, and it's happening. They're already building, I think it's called the Nova wallet or something. So, but Facebook's not going to launch a kind of low-tiered wallet just to get it out there. They're going to build something that revolutionizes the space. I'm sure of it. And they're not the only ones doing this. Every team, one of the things we learned was that every team in tech is building or has a crypto and Web3 team that is looking to either plug into Web3 or start building things in Web3. So that's huge. Okay, number 5, the final one, the Ethereum merge from proof of work to proof of stake is happening in August 2022, and it's a really big deal. So the last 2 panels on the last day of Permissionless were titled The Verge of the Merge and the Institutional Bull Case for ETH. And holy shit, if you were in these, you got bullish. Both of these were during the breakout session. So what happens on the last 2 days, you have kind of main stage, the full, just main stage presentations on the first day. Then every morning you have main stage presentations, and then you break it out and you go, there's a stage for institutions. There's a stage for like metaverse type stuff. And there's a stage for the future of finance with the 3 breakdowns. And so they're sort of smaller rooms, right? And, both of these were in those breakout sessions in the smaller conference rooms. And that was a big mistake because it should have been on the main stage because these rooms were packed. Everybody was showing up. Like I'm talking, all the seats were full. In the lanes, like to get to the seats, people were sitting on the floor, sitting in front of the stage, standing all the way back. The doors were open out to the hallways that people like were standing on chairs, overlooking people. And everyone crowded in because they wanted to hear what Justin Drake, who's the researcher at the Ethereum Foundation, and the others who are a part of the research group and are building and a part of the testing of the merge, et cetera, wanted to hear what they had to say about the highly anticipated and long-awaited Ethereum merge. And so good news. He announced that it looks like the merge will finally happen in August 2022. Now, of course, it's not exact. They didn't give an exact date. It's not that easy, right? Bugs can happen and delays can occur. So it's not 100%. We've learned that, of course. But he and the rest of the dev team feel confident in their progress and said it's highly likely that the merge will happen in August. So at this point, devs say that merge tests are going seamlessly. So they've been doing shadow forks, which is kind of just like doing I don't even know what you call it, but a test of it. And it looks like they basically have no issues every time they do it right now. They've got it so where there's basically 0 bugs. And so next step is they will begin merging the test nets over, which starts June 8th. And so they will merge the first test net on June 8th. And then that takes about 2 to 3 weeks to kind of finalize it all and test everything, get it over. And then they do the next one. And there's 3 test nets in total. Okay. And so basically it was like 2 to 3 weeks after June 8th, 2 to 3 weeks after whatever, the end of June, so on and so forth, which leaves some point in August is when they will be ready. So long as there's no issues in all those, then they're ready to do the main net. And the main net is the live Ethereum blockchain currently that we use today, which is settling trillions of dollars per year. And this is why it's taken so long and they're so careful, is because if they fuck this up, there is a lot, the industry would basically be screwed, right? Like it's trillions of dollars. Okay. We saw the effects of, a billion, what was it? Maybe 20, $30 billion company in Terra or protocol in Terra kind of going to nothing. And that's big. If Ethereum went to nothing, well, that would be crazy. So why is this such a big deal? So merging the security system of a live blockchain and that's settling trillions of dollars per year from, proof of work to proof of stake is probably the biggest technological feat in crypto's history outside of maybe the birth of Bitcoin. Okay. It is a really, really big deal. It's never been done before. They've been working on it for years. Okay. The complaints about crypto and NFTs and Web3 using too much energy and, being bad for the environment and all that, which is kind of a load of crap. But either way, most people who don't really get this stuff, well, it's about to be silenced, right? Because now where most of the activity of the space is, which is on Ethereum, it's now basically a 99.9% reduction in in energy costs. So that's huge. But what I think is probably the bigger component to this that most people are not understanding, which I think the institutional people are starting to understand, and some of those in the space starting to understand, is that ETH, the asset. So there's Ethereum, the blockchain, and then ETH, the asset, which is what we all buy and use. Well, ETH, the asset, will become the first deflationary asset in crypto. So you have the meme of Bitcoin, which is sound money because there's only 21 million. Ethereum never had that. And that was one of the faults that people took on Ethereum, is that we don't know what the limit of ETH, the token, is, right? I think it sits somewhere around like 120 million or something right now. And we have inflation, right? We got to pay for security at something like 4% it is right now. And so that continues to inflate the supply of ETH. And so people don't like that. So we added EIP 1559, which burns ETH, which has allowed us to basically stay balanced in depending on how much activity is going on. But with the merge, the inflation rate goes from something like 4% to like I think it's 0.4%. So it's very minimal because proof of stake takes a lot less cost to secure the network. And so at 0.4% with EIP 1559 burning ETH, we become deflationary. And so over time, we have less and less ETH on the market, and that is huge. So Ethereum becomes the first ever profitable blockchain in the space, meaning the revenue it's taking in from fees, and or if you want to go another level, just the revenue in terms of buybacks or burning, whatever you want to call this, is higher or will be higher than the amount that Ethereum or ETH is inflating. And so it's the first kind of sustainable tokenomic model in crypto. And that is going to be huge. So I'm not going to get into any more details on that. I'll do a quick TLDR, but if you want to learn more about the tokenomics and the impacts that the merge will have on ETH, go to Bankless, and I have them linked in the article here, so you can find that there. But if not, go to Bankless and look up 5 reasons the merge is bullish. And then on YouTube, you can go to Bankless, and I believe it's called something to do with putting the entire fund in ETH or something like that. But he brings in an investor. They bring in an investor who talks about the tokenomic structure and how it changes. And it's mind-blowing. It's really cool. The TLDR is this. Here's basically what's happening after the merge, okay? After the merge, the supply and demand of ETH will change significantly. So the supply of ETH drops drastically. I just explained that through the inflation rate, okay? And the burning. But the demand will increase drastically also, okay? And the reason demand will increase is because right now when you stake on Ethereum, which is how you secure the network, you're earning about 4% or 5%. Once we switch and turn off proof of work, that APY, that interest to stake, is going to go up to about 12%. So now you can invest in one of the least riskiest assets in crypto, and you can stake it, which essentially is no risk to stake, because the only risk is the same risk you would take if you were just holding ETH, because it's all staked through cryptographic measures, assuming you stake the proper way. And so because it's 12%, that is a big number, and a big number that a lot of people are going to want, right? Money always follows where it's treated best. And anytime there's APY like that, money flows. Okay. And what happens though with the staking numbers of Ethereum is the more people who stake, that number goes down. So we won't remain at 12%. Of course, we don't want that. That's a lot. But what happens is as more people start to come in, then that 12% goes lower and lower and lower. Okay. And so the estimations, the researchers think somewhere around like 4 to 6% is where it will sort of balance out. But in order to get there, that means people need to buy a lot of ETH and start staking it. Okay. So there's a lot of buy pressure on ETH, the asset, once the merge happens, and it'll probably happen leading up to it. I don't know, who knows? But here's the other thing is everyone says, well, it's buy the rumor, sell the news kind of thing, right? So like once the merge happens, everyone will just sell and whatever. So it's just a bunch of hype. But here's what people miss. Because of the way that the merge is set up, they wanted to get this done as soon as possible. the developers have not built in the ability to unstake. And that won't come until 6 months after the merge. And so what this means is that everybody who's already staked, which is something like 11 or 12 million ETH, which is insane. Okay. It's like 12 or 15% or something of the entire ETH supply. So all of them, plus, as I just mentioned, once this goes up to 12%, so many people are going to come in and stake. None of them can sell. None of them can unstake. Plus all of the rewards that they are getting, this 12% or 5% or whatever we're at, none of that can be sold or unstaked. And so not only do we have a supply that is going significantly down, demand going significantly up, nobody can sell, and no one can sell for 6 months after the merge. There's nothing this has never happened before in any industry ever. And so the people that actually get this are like, whoa, the supply and demand here is just out of this world. Okay. And the way that tokens work in crypto is it's all about supply and demand. And there's a lot of research and ways that prove this. Again, that video that I talked about, you should watch because he talks a lot about this. All assets work this way, right? It's all about supply and demand. But ultimately, this creates the greatest supply shock this industry will ever see. And honestly, maybe even any industry. So the term that they've used here is, it has been dubbed the triple halving. Okay. So this refers to the 4-year halving of the inflation rate of Bitcoin, right? The last 3 bull runs have all kicked off due to the supply shock of Bitcoin during these halvings. So Bitcoin's inflation rate splits every 4 years from, let's say, 4% down to 2 to 1, 1 to, half, and so on. And every time that happens, a few months later, because of the supply shock, because there's less Bitcoin, the miners can't mine as much Bitcoin. Because of that supply shock, the prices start to go up, and Bitcoin sort of drags the industry up with it, and we take that next leg up. What's happening with Ethereum is, in one day, Ethereum will undergo the equivalent of 3 halvings all at once, at a time where they can't sell, and at a time where adoption of crypto and Web3 on Ethereum is going exponential. I mean, Instagram just launched NFTs that are on Ethereum, right? So you have user adoption. Anyway, this is a very big deal. And from discussions at Permissionless, it may be the one thing that can pull us out of a bear market, even if the macro environment doesn't, play nice. So I think we have exciting times ahead. And look, it's not about the money here. I mean, obviously that's great, and everyone's going to love that, and it really helps the industry. If ETH goes up, everyone now has more money to invest in, building and hiring and all these things. So look, we don't talk prices much, but ultimately this stuff matters, right? It does help. It also helps bring in new users, which is what everyone needs. So yes, I'm bullish on ETH for price, whatever, but it's because what this does to the industry when this happens. The other thing that people don't understand, I think, is that the price also matters for security. If the market cap of Ethereum, of ETH, the token, is like $30 billion, I mean, it's not, it's like 250 million right now, but the lower is, the easier it is for nation states or, bad actors to attack the network. The more expensive it is, the higher in price it is, the more, the stronger it is from attack, because it takes a lot more money to attack. And this is the reason why Ethereum developers have been building all the things in this way, because they want to make it so the tokenomics of ETH are better than any other asset, because they need /want/require ETH to go up. Again, not to get rich, but to secure the network. Okay. And this is one of the things that most of these alt ones don't have figured out in their roadmap, is they have these highly inflating tokens so they have lower market caps and thus less security. Okay. So again, this is just about sustainability of this space. And so ETH going to the moon is actually a really good thing. I mean, obviously it's a good thing, because who doesn't want that to happen? But anyway, hopefully you understand what I'm trying to get at. Okay, some final thoughts as I wrap up here. If the bulk of your crypto and Web3 consumption and learnings comes from Twitter, podcasts, and YouTube, I mean, hopefully you're doing that with us, and that's great at Web3 Academy. We're happy to give you information and share. But if that's it, then you need to attend a conference. Okay, it hits different to meet people and learn from people in the flesh. The discussions are more real. It brings everyone back to the basics, to the fundamentals. It gets rid of the hype that you see on Twitter and on YouTube and all the flashiness. And it's like real, face to face, shaking hands and like telling it how it is, right? It allows you to, one, see who are the people on the other side of these crazy Twitter accounts that are yelling buy the dip and hodl and, we're all going to make it, whatever. You get to see. And it's funny because a lot of them are like, 40, 50-year-old dudes or 40, 50-year-old chicks. And it's just like, what? Like, you're the one with that weird NFT picture and you're the one that's like, yelling all this stuff. It's hilarious to meet these people in real life. It allows you to see who these people are that are building the protocols and apps that we use and learn about every single day, which is amazing because it's like, are these just some crazy degens that are building this stuff, or are these like legit founders? And when you meet them and you shake their hand and you talk to them, it's like, wow, these people are crazy, crazy smart. And it allows you to see and understand that what we're building Web3 is truly revolutionary. And, you're not the only one who's excited and bullish and obsessed with this industry. There are literally tens of thousands of others. And so I finished this one off with what a time to be alive. And actually I went to quote that because I thought it was Drake who started that line. I'm from Toronto or near Toronto. And so obviously I like Drake. But I saw it was from The Simpsons, which I have no idea of, but I think that's pretty funny. So that's my fun fact for the day. But that's the top 5 key takeaways from the Permissionless conference. Thank you everyone for listening to this podcast. I hope to see many of you at next conferences because I definitely will be going to more. If you want to chat about this, you want to learn more, you have any questions about anything I talked about, please join our Discord. Just go to the link below in the show notes and you will see there's a link. All you gotta do is fill out an application to join our community. We'll give you an NFT and it's free, and you'll use that to verify and get access into our Discord channel where we have hundreds of people shooting the shit every day about Web3, asking questions, helping each other learn, staying on the forefront of Web3 innovation. But I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to meet you. So get up in that Discord. Let's go. All right, let's chat. Okay, guys, thank you so much. And I hope you all have a wonderful week. Thank you for listening to Web3 Academy. We hope this helps you along your Web3 journey. And if it does, please share this episode and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. By the way, if you've yet to join the Discord community, you are missing out. This is where all the magic happens. This is where we learn, where we ask questions, where we network. You want to be in there. The link to join is in the description below. And finally, a quick disclaimer. Nothing in this podcast was financial advice. Crypto and Web3 can be risky. You can literally lose it all. In fact, if you invest on account of what we say, you probably will lose it all. So don't do that. In all honesty, the point of this podcast is to remove the noise of markets and price and focus on utility and implementation anyway. So you should not take any of this as financial advice. Thank you, friends, and see you in the next one.